She Speaks, Masterminds Monday, a new Asafo, Thunderground Thursdays, and Foundational Fridays. You can also visit us on our YouTube channels. They are Enlightenment and Transformation, Orisha Yoruba, and Anu Nation. Osiris Life Spiritual Services is for those who are ready to take the necessary actions to bring your life into holistic balance. Here we offer consistent monthly one-on-one coaching, solutions that are tailored just for you, practical hands-on self-development techniques that will accompany your monthly readings, and customized practical strategies designed for you that guarantee positive results. Simply choose the package that best fits your needs. And last but not least, alphaomegastore.com. The Alpha Omega Store is our online botanica where we offer divination tools, herbs and incense, DVDs, books, and other hard-to-find ritual items. You can also get our best-selling foundational book, Grasping the Root of Divine Power. Other great works from Anu Nation are Shrine and Altar, Solutions for Dysfunctional Family Relationships, and Natural Hair for Young Women. All great books to assist you on your journey. To find out more on how to get involved with Anu Nation, visit our websites and YouTube channels and be sure to sign up for our monthly newsletter.
Hey, peace. Welcome, everyone. And let me just get let me get situated again, as I so often do. I'm ripping and running prior to the segment, so the little the new commercial, the announcements, it gives me a moment to kind of get into position. So let me just kind of get into place here. But yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome to our midday segment. This is Chief Yuya speaking, and I actually thought we were going to be a little delayed today. I got started like just at the brink of that 1 o'clock mark, 1 p.m. Eastern mark. I was having a wonderful Osiris Life session with one of our Osiris Life members and our new students. We were having a really good build session that honestly I didn't even want to pull myself away from. We were going over the time, but I don't care about that so much. But it's good to build with you all too. But we were having such a good session that I pushed it right up to the last, to about like 12:59, and I said, all right, brother, I gotta go do this show. But it's always good to be able to talk to folks and really hear the change in them, and see them grow and change, and especially in that time away, like after the session. Sometimes you do sessions with people and you don't really know how much sticks. You hope a lot sticks, but you're not really sure per se. And they come back later and they're like, Baba, like I was really meditating on what we talked about and it just took me into another space. Thank you so much.
Since it appears you're calling back into a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
We dropped. Okay, you all know what that was. My Skype connection dropped. Sometimes it happens, right? So I think by now you're all used to it, and I'm pretty quick with the recovery. I saw that someone had called in and raised their hand. Feel free to call back. I don't know if you got dropped too as well. It's a funny combo here sometimes with Blog Talk. They have their own way that you can dial in directly, which you would think would be better because it's proprietary. But before, remember when we were doing the segments and I was getting dropped like every 5 minutes, that's when I was using their own way to dial in to the show. But they also have this other Skype function, and Skype seems to work decently most of the time. It seems like we get to about maybe a 25-30 minute mark, and then I start breaking up, but at least we get a good 25-30 minutes in before it starts to act funny. But yeah, so like I said, I was just having a good build session with a young brother, and just just really building on manhood more than anything, manhood, and some things that he's working out, and that some revelations that I could say that he's coming to in terms of his development. And like I said, we pushed it to the last minute. But I'm here. Let me get a calling number. I saw there was some hands up before, and I think they probably got dropped along with me. But what's the number? 515-605-9862. 515-605-9862. And if you want to communicate, just hit the number 1 if you want to communicate. So yeah, give thanks. I'm appreciative. I want to welcome all of you who are coming in from the chat room. I see you guys are already rubbing elbows and doing the whole fellowship piece. So peace to you all. I see YouTube is people are filing in over there, and we have some people on Blog Talk already as well. So again, welcome everyone to KMunity. And again, this is Chief Yuya. If you've catching me after I cut off, we've been speaking about all last month the value of the equinox. And yesterday I took some time, yesterday being Monday, took some time in our early dawning segment to start us off with kind of recognizing some of the components and the mechanisms of mind control, or what I call thought reform. And sometimes some of those mechanisms that may go on that we don't totally recognize, because there's so much a part of our everyday society. There's so much a part of what we live, and what is expected of us. And a lot of times our expectations that people place on us, sometimes our family members, are a big portion of what that thought control or thought reform and mind control really represent. So I spoke about that a little bit yesterday. If you didn't get a chance to check out that segment, because I know it was early dawning. People are doing different things. You might be in the gym, or you might be on the road getting ready to go to work, depending on the time zone you're in. May not have been able to check that out, but I urge you to, because it really leads us up to some of the things that I'll be speaking about this Sunday. And this Sunday, we're starting off our series on authority. And a lot of times people have a lot of difficulty really understanding what authority is, and how we should act with authority, and what's the authority, or who's the authority, especially in relationships. You see a lot of that vibration a lot, when words like submission come into play, or leading or following even come into play. And a lot of times people don't know where or how to respond. It gets a little tricky. So we're going to speak about some of that, starting this Sunday. But all of these segments that we're doing up until then are pretty much leading up to that. They're leading up to that conversation, and after, and then of course going forward. But there was something that I was speaking. It was a point. I'm not, obviously I can't and I won't share the session that I was talking to the brother about. But there was a point that we kind of tapped into, that a lot of times, yeah, I would say a lot of times it comes up in conversation with different people in terms of who and what they're surrounded by. And especially with a lot of the men, like I said, your leadership in any movement is always going to be the guiding and directing reflection of the energy of the people. So if your leader is an SHIT, then you're going to have a congregation full of SHIT people, or your coordinator or your chief. If your chief or your coordinator is a hippie or space cadet, then most likely the people who are members of that particular movement are also going to be hippies and space cadets, because the leadership or the chieftaincy or the coordination is always going to mirror the actual energy of the people involved. So what that means in this situation, a lot of times, and I'm sharing this publicly and openly, because there's been a point of contention and shame that I've encountered with a lot of the men and the women who have had discussions with me, of course, outside of these phone calls, private discussions. And one of the things, the points of contention and shame that come up so often are like a degree of shame about how they want to live or what their past has been. You know, some people feel like, well, if I get involved in any type of spiritual movement, or if I get involved in any type of cultural or development movement, then all of these maybe lower or base order or animalistic cravings and desires that I have inside of me, then they're going to have to go. And even to be around these people or to be involved in any way, they're going to expect me to clean those things up. They're going to expect me to eradicate those things out of my life and out of my psyche. So sometimes people feel ashamed in that sense, right? Or they may look at even how I carry myself, and they listen to Kim, you know, or anyone else who has done shows in the past or does shows now, and they may say, oh, they're like this. A lot of times it's very assumptive because, like I said, you don't know me. You don't know how I really am. You know, there's a fine line between professionalism and putting up a front. It's a very fine line, believe it or not. Okay, so don't confuse my desire to present to you in a way where I show class, decorum, and professionalism as actually being a show of piety or a show of self-righteousness, because it's definitely not. But, you know, in order to communicate to the range of people that I want to communicate to and to get my point across, then some of the jagged edges, even in my own personality, I have to sand down a little bit. And of course, there are times where just like the hairs on the back of the neck, the perm doesn't catch. So sometimes we have those moments, and you know, you get a little bit more, but even that's intentional. I never slip and just go off or something like that. Even when I decide to share a little bit more, it's intentional. You know, so there was two things that were asked, and I thought they were interesting questions because they've been asked before, but not just by men, but by women as well. But just how do I basically suppress some of the harder or the rougher parts of my personality and still be successful and still be welcomed inside of a community of spiritualists or a community of healers? How do I do that and still be welcomed? And I say this, if you recognize that we are in a time, and this is really important. I hope, you know, I know when I talk, only about 2% of you actually understand what I'm talking about. Not because it's so deep, but only 2 of you actually care to understand. 2%. I know that. I'm not going to say who the 2% are, but I know it. All right. I know the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us the numbers of the 5%, but I think in this day and time, it's going even lower. About 2% are the poor righteous teachers. But in any event, this is really important. If you look at a time now where we're in really survival mode, you know, if you can look at, let's say maybe 2012, 2013, where we had even earlier, but where we had a proliferation of zombie films, you know, or films that, you know, spoke about a post-apocalyptic Earth, like 28 Days Later, and you know, Z Nation, and of course, The Walking Dead, and zombie killers, and it was a whole bunch of them. I mean, we even had them even further back, you know, earlier than that, like Night of the Living Dead and stuff like that. But you know, the Book of Eli. We even had a resurrection of the Mad Max, or you know, franchise with Thunder Road, I think was the name of it. But in any event, you see that there's been like this proliferation of media that's spoken about us being in a time of post-apocalyptic society. So there's writing that's on the wall sometimes that you got to pay attention to when you see a proliferation of certain things. Just like right before that, there was this profundity of films and media surrounding vampirism and the werewolf phenomenon. Every other show was either about witches, vampires, or werewolves. You see, writings on the wall. You got to pay attention to that type of stuff. So, and a lot of times you can look at it from a macro perspective. You don't have to just cue in on one movie. And that's what sometimes we do when we miss the point. Look at the overall trend. So I used a particular film, I'm not going to say which one, as a reference to the brother so he could understand something. And I was saying that a lot of times there's certain things in our nature that are rising right now and that are present and that are very difficult to eradicate because they're necessary based on the times that we're in. And the things that we've been doing just are not working as much as we would like them to. You see, so for instance, a lot of brothers who come into Anu have a little bit of a rough edge about them. And there's some shame surrounding that. They get angry quick, they're violent. Sometimes brothers have even spoken to me and said, sometimes when I hear you on the air and people are saying certain things to you, or I read the comments, or they're asking certain kind of questions, I'm getting angry listening to it. How do you handle that? And I've heard the same thing from females as well, who have some difficulty basically enacting their self-control, or enacting a higher sense of piety based on what someone has told you. And similar somewhat to what I've said to him and what I've said to others in the past, don't be disillusioned by a lot of these jive time teachers and lecturers. Okay, they've never been in the trenches and they never will be. And if we were in a post-apocalyptic environment, we'd probably cook them and eat them. That's the only thing they'd be good for. Or we chain them all together and put them in the middle of the road and use them as a roadblock so we could rob cars that come by. That's pretty much all they'd be good for. Okay. Sometimes we forget the times and the era that we're in, and we're so obsessed with pleasing people. We're so obsessed with being accepted when we have certain things about our character and our nature that we feel are unacceptable, or individuals have told us are unacceptable, and they're presenting to us a model and an image of us of some type of utopian indigenous society where everyone just hugged each other every day and put flowers in each other's hair. And no, we've never been like that. You're always going to have your warrior class. You're always going to have your whore class. You're always going to have those who are about trade and commerce. You're always going to have your Arumila class, or your Tahuti, or your Moses, or your law bringers, your studiers, your nerds. You're going to have your lovers. You're going to have your wild, crazy witches that, can't seem to get along with everybody. So we just move them on the edge of the village. You live out here. We'll bring the food to you. You're always going to have that. And you have that to this day in many societies back home. And sometimes we don't realize because we're so used to this homogenous representation of what spirituality should be. And that's one of the things that I spoke about yesterday in terms of the mind control. We think that everyone has to come in and behave the same way, or give up the same things, or give the same things. And when we're unable to put ourselves into that space, we basically beat ourselves. As a result, we feel this immense guilt, as a result. And I have to tell you again, when you have a chief or a coordinator, those who come into that society typically reflect a lot of what that coordinator projects outwardly. So some of the same hangups that you may have, or some of the same fears or aggressions or whatever, a lot of them are maybe hang-up fears and aggressions that I've conquered in my past. And maybe some of them are not so much in my recent past. Some of them I may still be working through. I don't know. Who knows? So a lot of times I see people really beat themselves up and feel like, well, there's nowhere for me to fit in here. There's nowhere for me to be because I'm this way or I'm that way, but then they still kind of hang around on the periphery, or they don't really contribute. And again, if you look at yourself in a post-apocalyptic environment, you're going to have to understand that everyone's going to have to bring a certain value. And some of the things that you are actively suppressing today because of societal engineering and what you perceive to be societal norm are going to be the very things that you need moving forward. Like, you know, in the North, a lot of times I used to hear people make fun of, you know, like somebody who was country, you know, maybe the way they talk or the way they dress, or I know I sound like a hypocrite, right? But when I do it, I'm playing around. You know, I'm not really making fun of country. I have family who are in the South, but who live in the South. But you know, I just have fun with it. And trust me, if I was from the South, I'd be making fun of people from New York. You know, because ultimately, I don't care about either one. North, South, like who cares? Who cares where you were sold and planted, or where you had to run and escape to? You shouldn't be claiming that. You know, unless where you're standing is sovereign land. Yeah, okay, you could claim that. But if you don't have sovereign land and sovereign deeds there, then you can't claim any of it, honestly. You know, but so you know, I play around with it. But the point I'm saying is that those who may live in the South, if we came into a situation where we were in full and all out survival mode, they may have certain life skills that people in the North don't necessarily have. You know, like growing food, handling animals, handling firearms, you know, identifying water that can be drunk, you know, and water that can't be drunken, you know. So a lot of times we suppress some of the things that we come with for, you know, in pursuit of homogeny. And I'm telling you, we are in post-apocalyptic times. We are in a time where there hasn't been a collapse of society. I mean, you have girls and boys, because it's not just girls that got kidnapped. They keep talking about these 14 girls. There was 3 boys too. You know, it's just like with the Boko Haram situation, you know, a couple of years ago. Everybody was like, oh, the girls, bring our girls. There were boys that were taken too. You know, so we're already in that state now. Girls are getting kidnapped. You know, the brother was walking down the street in New York City, gets stabbed in the chest by the white supremacists. You know, you got dudes coming into churches, shooting them up. There was another incident recently where they caught the guy before he got to the church. He was going to a church with the intention to shoot it up. And, you know, I guess he had put it on Facebook or something. And, you know, I'm heading out. And they headed him off, so they say, you know, but we're already in those times. So some of the things that you have been suppressing in terms of your grit, in terms of your wildness, because remember, the things that are wild are the strongest things. That's when you're dealing with herbs, drinks, animals, people. The wild stuff is the strongest stuff, not the domesticated stuff. And when you're living in a time where you're living in straight lawlessness, because that's the season we're in, and some don't recognize it, especially those of you who have kind of gone down the routes of and again, I don't want anyone to think like I'm undermining their investments in terms of legal paperwork or status correction or claiming their nationality and being identified by a nation as opposed by a color or anything like that. I don't want anyone to feel like I'm undermining those who are proponents of that. But like I've said before, you're not going to gain your freedom through bureaucracy and paperwork. It's just not going to happen, especially when you live in a lawless land, you know, where you'll go with all the paperwork and someone will say, okay, cool, but I'm still going to shoot you. I'm still going to lock you up. So obviously there's something else that's needed outside of that. There's some other type of nonconformity that's needed in order to keep you protected. Because like I've said before, when I looked at all the killings that were promoted and advertised, because that's what you were looking at, advertised killings during the Obama era. You know, one of the points that I had made, and I think I might have said it on a show, I might not, I don't know, because I tread lightly on some of those subjects, but we didn't see anybody getting, you know, shot out who Rasta or Hebrew Israelite or anybody in the nation of gods and earths or the nation of Islam. We saw people who were on the periphery getting shot down by police or getting kidnapped and abducted. People on the periphery, not people who were necessarily attached and connected and invested in a particular culture that would seem alternative or nonconformist to the culture of the Anglosphere. You see, now, I know that's a hard one to hear and a hard one to take, and I know a lot of times you hear something like that, people are ready to poke holes in that. So you mean to tell me if I was a Rastafarian, racism would be over? No, we're not saying that, but we're saying that certain things keep you dangling it out and fragmented. You know, when you appear to be raceless, when you appear to be cultureless, when you appear to be spiritless, you bring yourself down to a vibration where now you can be seen and identified from those of that same ilk. You're noticeable now because of where you're vibrating at. You see, because of the fact that you're not attached to something. I said something to someone a while ago, and you know, they didn't get it until, and maybe they're still getting it, I don't know, but they told me they got it later. But it was this woman who was single at the time and of a certain age, and I said, you know, well, older single women are indecent. And she was like, huh? What do you mean that? I was like, just think about it. You know, because she was sharing with me some of the experiences she's had in the cultural community and certain guys who try to posture themselves as a certain thing and then try to come on to them and things like that. And I said, yeah, well, you know, that's because being single at your age is an act of indecency. It's indecent. You know, and of course, there's a lot of people. See, a lot of times when I do these segments, that's why I ignore a lot of the trolls. You'll get those dumb responses like, so you mean to tell me I'm indecent because I don't have a man? You know, and it's just, at some point, this is what I'm saying, where, and this is kind of the other part his brother was talking about. He was speaking about how, you know, he may get a certain energy from me, but a lot of the other males that he's surrounded by don't really move as men. And I shared with him, think about, again, if you in a time of a post-apocalyptic time, and you got a whiny guy around you who's not really doing what he's supposed to do. He's being ran by his woman, situations like that. What would you do with him? Because you know chances are someone like that is going to get you killed. So you would probably separate from him, say, listen to me, I'm going to leave, you know, or you tell the group, you're out the group, we're going to leave him because he represents a danger and a liability to our very survival. You see, so in this day and time, if you can't see that we are already living in a time of the zombies, if you can't look at our people and say, whatever's loud and shiny and flashy, that's what the herd gravitates to. Look at any zombie movie. How do you get their attention? You make a lot of noise, you bang on something, you light a fire, you shoot a gun in the air, you know, a light show, and then all the zombies come over to where you're at. You see, and what does that do? That allows those who are trying to get something done or execute a plan, it allows them the time to go do that while the zombies are distracted. You see, so a lot of times people don't understand that the times that we're living in now are the times of root chakra survival. They don't get that because they're too comfortable. I saw my name in the chat room. So okay, Chief, what is the indecent age for a woman, single woman? Keisha Reinhardt asked that. Keisha, you're past that age. I know your age and you're already past it. Okay. So, and again, before just looking at the words, think about what I'm saying. Think about why, you know, you got to learn to put the puzzle pieces together. We have to learn to start thinking a little bit more sequentially. Put all the pieces together. Well, he's saying that a single woman, that's an indecent act. Well, okay, well, let me look around the world at societies that are thriving, and I do have some of their culture still intact and some of their holism intact. How are their women treated? You know, like I said, and I spoke about this thing yesterday or day before yesterday, some of the issues and challenges that we face and that people even come to my mat with, divination sessions, we don't really have an answer for all of that stuff because some of it doesn't apply. And I think you caught some of that when I was doing the show with Sister Leah recently, and she was saying, well, some men say this, some men, and I was like, well, I can't really speak to that because as a man, this some of that stuff I would never say. So it doesn't really apply, but some of that stuff are products of Westernism, and not just Westernism, the Westernism or the Western nigger factory. Okay, the manufactured nigger mind state or the plantation mind state. That's a product of that. So if you are not in that factory or not a product of that factory or have broken free of that programming, some of those scenarios will never really apply to you. You won't really get it. So like you may say something like, well, what if I do and I'm walking down the street and a bunch of guys try to talk to me or they disrespect me, they touch me or something like that? Well, that's a product of a greater context there. It's not a one-off. So we have to look at, let's go back contextually. Why are you walking down the street by yourself? Well, I'm just trying to get to work. I'm just okay, well, where do you work? And why are you working outside of the house and not for the family? Like we back it down and you start to realize that contextually, 90% of what we're doing is wrong. Like I told you, whatever Anglosphere culture gives you or Western culture gives you, it's not for your benefit and your growth and your advancement. It's for your destruction. So usually the best thing you can do is do the opposite. It's usually the best thing you can do. Do the opposite of what they tell you to do. But you look in certain societies, like I say, now we got women being kidnapped, right? So what's our solution going to be? Don't let the girls walk down the street by themselves. I'm kind of right back there again, right? Well, I guess this is why we haven't seen any Muslim women kidnapped. Because they don't really allow that. You're not gonna see a Muslim. You would see at least okay, I see Orion just answered your question and said over 40, I would say. That's a poor answer. Don't take that answer, Keisha. Orion, you're wrong. Why would a woman be single over 40? That's another sign of a sick society. Why would a woman be single over 25? Think about that. Why would you be single past the age of 25 when your prime fertility ages are between 15 and 23? And at 40, you still walking around. At 40, you're going to wake up and say, okay, it's time for me to have a man. And you got 3 eggs left inside of you. See, this is what we've gotten from this sick society. I'm not saying you sick, Orion. I'm not saying that. So just to be clear, I'm not getting on you. I'm just saying because you put the answer in there, I got to correct the answer. No, 40 is way too late. Way too late. By 40, a woman should be enjoying her children, enjoying raising her children and managing her household. She might even have a business by then with her children by 40. We do things so late and we end up creating liabilities for ourselves and our community. We become the liability. Like I was speaking to another brother recently and he was talking about building a community. And one of the things that I told him first is, build it with families. And he was saying, yeah, because I got some brothers who are down and want to do it. And I said, nah, and he's in a family. I said, you can't do it with people who are not in the family because those single men or males, they're a liability because they're going to be running through the women who want to be a part of the community. You see, they're going to be running through those women. So ultimately, we have to look at the greater context of things sometimes, and we miss that. In our society or in our cultural communities, of course, you got people who are 30, 40, 50, 60. All right. And I'm not getting on y'all. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Y'all don't know, but the people who are, they know. 60 years old, still looking for a mate. Tell me something's not wrong there. Like you can't see something's off there. Like we shouldn't even be looking for mates. Why are we looking? Especially when there's men here and there's women here. Why are we having so much trouble getting along, getting together? What is this divide that exists between us that we just can't seem to get together? You see? So anyway, so what I was saying is that a lot of times we don't realize that we are in the midst. Yeah, Keisha and Orion, y'all want to leave now that y'all got some information. I see y'all in the chat room. I got work to do. Yeah, I gotta go. Yeah, you don't like what you're hearing. I'm messing with you. But a lot of times we don't understand that we are in the midst of that survival time and that survival mode. We are in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. We're in the middle of it right now. Look at the art that's being produced now, or the lack of art. Look at the lack of art that's being produced right now. Look at what people are gravitating towards, and look what people are staring away from. Elon Musk just started a company where they're dealing with a science called Neuralink. And Neuralink is where they're now creating an interface where they're interfacing a person's brain with AI software. This is reality now. Okay. Now they do a little bit of it now with certain chips that they'll use that will send electrical signals, because what they do is for people who have Alzheimer's and things like that. But it's definitely not, and even that they do very few surgeries like that because it's so invasive and so dangerous. But they now have this software, this technology that they're working on, where they'll basically be putting a chip into a person's head that will communicate with artificial intelligence software in order to enhance the brain activity of an individual. Zombie apocalypse. Now we're creating cyborgs. You see? So this is what I'm saying, man. A lot of times, we're just not in tune to what's going on around us, and we're still stuck on our BS. And that's what it really is. We're stuck on our BS, and we don't want to recognize that we're in a day and time. Now, I had an elder tell me something once, to give you an example, who was Jehovah's Witness. And I asked her, I said, Mama, I said, how do we know when, like, basically the tribulation comes? She used to talk to me about that. And she used to always give me these Jehovah's Witness books. And out of respect, I would take them and read them. The Greatest Man Alive. That's like their most popular one. Questions that Young Teens Ask is another one. I know all the Jehovah's Witness stuff. And I would never say, I ain't trying to hear that, but I would just take, because I always was like, it's something, I'm gonna get something. If nothing else, I'll learn about this cult. But I asked her that one day, and I said, I know I'm just messing with you, Keisha. And I said, what will it look like? And she said it so smooth. It's probably the deepest thing she's ever said to me. She's since transitioned, but so smooth. She just said, it's gonna look the same way it looks now. She said it just like that. And this was many, many, many years ago, right? But she said this is gonna look the same way it looks out today, when the great tribulation comes. It'll look just like this. And it was something, of course, it stuck with me. Certain things you say to a young person and they kind of stick to you, and that's why you don't want to always be quick to throw stuff out, because I definitely wasn't trying to mess with no Jehovah's Witness stuff. But it's such a closed society. I was very interested in learning about it. But she said that information to me, and I bring it to where we are today. I'm gonna take a call and we'll go back into this. 864, you're on the air.
Greetings, Chief.
Peace, my brother. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I was just, you already know, riding with the waves.
For sure.
Riding right along with
you. For sure.
And I just want to let people know, if you really serious, talk to Chief. Go ahead, schedule that consultation or that reading or whatever, because you will be surprised how many situations this Chief has been in, and how many people he has been around to ease your mind. Like, you never would imagine somebody could go through so much. And I would take somebody who has experienced everything almost in the world than somebody who grew up with a silver spoon in their mouth. That's just me personally, as a man speaking. I don't know about anybody else, but if you really want to know what's up, just talk to this man right here. Chief got it down. I just wanted to give you ups on that.
Oh, give thanks, man. I appreciate you sharing that with the family. Give thanks. Yeah, for sure.
No problem.
Cool. All right, brother. All right, cool. So you could stay on, just the usual, mute out. and I'm gonna come back to you and ask you something anyway. But I'm gonna take another call coming in from 904. All right. 904 on there.
Peace, Chief. Peace. How you doing, sir?
I'm good.
This is Serene.
Yeah, I know who this is, brother.
How y'all doing?
Things are well. How you doing, brother?
Man, I've been maintaining, man. I ain't been on the line. I've been in the YouTube. I have to listen to your shows after you do them on the YouTube because I got one of those Metro phones. So
it's blocking you out.
Charging me, right? Yeah, they charging me. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm working on it, man. I spoke to those suckers actually yesterday, man, and they told me, well, it looks like I'm gonna end up coming off of Blog Talk because I don't like the answer they gave me. So I spoke to them about changing my number back, and they talking to me like I got a flower pot on my head. So I think I'm gonna have to dump this. So we'll have it fixed up soon. Yeah, who got all that noise in the back? You, Tareen?
Okay.
The cafeteria?
That's me. I don't know. I'm at a restaurant. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Restaurant. Hold on, listen.
Yeah, man.
let me tell y'all something, man. I just want to say that equinox, the month of the equinox, every single week, Chief, you brought nothing but hot fire, boy. I'm talking about, oh my God, it was just, I felt like you were talking to me directly. In all those shows, man, every single one of them.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man, it was just a beautiful thing though. So I'm definitely, gonna, continue to study on that. But man, I'm driving trucks, man. How about one day, okay, I see a truck right in front of me. It pulls up behind me, and it says Thomas Trucking. And that's my name. My last name is Thomas. You know what I'm saying? So I was just thinking, talking to my, my Ori and my ancestors, like, man, I want my own, my own trucking company, and and I've been working with, and going for a minute like that, And so how about just yesterday, the day before yesterday, a semi truck came by while I was listening to the Blog Talk radio show, and it was like Thomas Trucking, and so I watched it. Focused on it, saying my, Orini do, just focused on it till it got out of my sight, till it, rolled past me. And how about, yesterday, another truck came past me on the road, and it said Thomas Trucking, Moving and Storage. You know what I'm saying? So I'm taking all that in, like, maybe, these spirits will, communicate with me like that.
Ain't no maybe about it, man. Ain't no maybe. And we spoke about that. Remember you and I discussed that with the truck. Yeah.
Sir.
What I was about a month or two
so
ago.
I finally see it. That's what I'm saying. I'm probably just excited because I see it happening. I see some results happening,
Right. Yeah, man. That's beautiful, man. Now you got the image, you got the vision. So all you have to do is keep the vision in your head and start to perform actions that catch you up to it. You basically reaching out to it. So now you have to create the neurons need to connect inside your brain. And then on the quantum level, you have to start touching it physically. So what you need to do, I don't want to tell you what you need to do. Let me not say that. What I suggest you do is you get some type of plaque, or even if it's a little banner, and you put it up in the house that says Thomas Trucking. And you put it up by the door. So when you leave,
I'm definitely gonna do that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do that this week.
Yeah, man, and
I'm gonna do that.
Have your son work on it with you, because like I always tell you, when you have children create things, it's much more powerful than when we do it. You see, so have your son work on that image with you, man. you know, and you put that up where you're going to see it every single day. Put it up even over the door when you walk out, so you look at it. So that becomes the reality.
Okay.
Yeah, man. That's
yes, sir.
And if you need any help with that,
sir. I just want to.
if you need any help with it, just message me on the side. If you need any help, I have two brothers, close brothers of mine, who started their own trucking businesses. One is up here in the New York area, and the other one is in he's in New Mexico somewhere. But you know, I definitely, you know, can get you, you know, linked up with them if you want any information on how to get started with it. They'll do that for me. They owe me a couple of favors anyway. So, you know, if you need that, just message me on the side. I got you on that. It's not a problem.
Oh yeah, man. I thank you, man. I thank you so much,
sure,
Chief. You know, for the things that you're doing. I thank you. Thank our new family. I thank all y'all on the radio airways, man, for tuning in and listening, man. It's some good stuff, man. It's some powerful stuff, and I'm just excited that the cosmos, the ancestors are finally starting to communicate back with me, you know, like I can feel it now. You know what I'm saying? At first I didn't know. I was unsure. Right. I was like, I don't know if I'm doing this right or wrong, but now, you know, stuff's starting to, it's like I'm becoming in alignment with things now, with what they're trying to communicate with me. So I'm just forever grateful for that, man.
Oh, for sure, brother. Yeah, man. Just get it. It's your time right now, man. Just go get it. Ain't nothing in the way between you and your opportunity but air. And you can walk through air. You know, so just get it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, brother. Give thanks, man.
Yes,
we appreciate that. Yeah, I guess you having your lunch.
Hey, I'm finna live that I knew life, Chief.
I know you are.
Life, I knew way of living.
Yeah, man. I know you are. You brothers, you know, who are younger than me, man. Y'all gonna live more of it than I am. I'm gonna do more talking about it than living it. You know, so I look for you to manifest it, man. I look for you brothers to really take it to the next level. You know, so yeah, man, that's beautiful news, man. But I want to see the actual trucking company. Matter of fact, you need to link with Dietrich, because I know you and Dietrich talk. Because, you know, Dietrich has the security firm that he started, and what y'all do, man, is start holding each other accountable. You know, you two need to get together on the phone or sit down and come up with with a calendar in front of both of you and set up some dates, you know, so you have some quantifiable goals, because goals are much more powerful when they're quantifiable. When you can say, by this date, I'm going to have this amount of this or this number of this. You want to do it like that, not just I'm going to start my own company by November. You don't want to do it that way. You want to have something that you can quantify, but it's just like having a workout partner. Even though his business is something completely different, doesn't matter. Y'all two young black men with sons starting a business, you're in the same position. And you share your calendar with each other. You could even do that on Google Calendars, have a shared calendar. So you could look at each other's goals, so you could check in and say, hey, bro, did you hit your benchmark this month or this strong? You know, so I would advise you to do that, man, because you already have a relationship with them, you know, and you have somebody who can keep you in check in that sense, and you can keep him in check. You know?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, brother.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And another thing, Chief, one more thing before I let you, you know, flow on. I think every time you start to drop some real good jewels on this radio airways, that's when you start staticking up and start breaking up, and you know what I'm saying? Like, leave right when he's finna say, because you always, you know, doing it. It's like the way you flow, but it's like right when you know you giving that nourishment. You know what I'm saying? That is needed. It's like somebody's just working against us right now. You know, like
could be.
I was gonna tell you, like, or suggest, make a suggestion to see, like, you ever get you some headphones where, you know, you can hear, you know,
when it's
the
up.
static yourself, like if you know, so nobody won't be deceiving you, like, everybody saying you on and one person saying I can't hear it, or, you know, whatever the case may be. But
no, that's
I
a good
figured,
idea.
you know, maybe headphones would help that.
Yeah, I could monitor. That's not a bad idea, brother. I appreciate that suggestion. What I would just have to do is maybe set up another computer and have that computer playing the show, and then I just, you know, can check it, monitor that way. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, man. I'll try that. Matter of fact, I'll try it and see how that goes. I appreciate that.
Sir.
Yeah, man. Give thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. I'm like I say, man. Once again, I'm forever grateful, man, and
for sure.
I'm still behind you, supporting you, man. 100,000%, man. Even though I can't be on the phone like that,
it's all right.
phone, the metro, but I still listen to the shows. I still study the shows every single day. You know, so we still here.
For sure. Give thanks. I appreciate that, brother. Yeah, man. Give thanks.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Cool, my brother. Enjoy your lunch. All right.
Yes,
cool.
sir.
All right. I'm going to bring Pedro back in because he had a lot of noise in the background. So a lot of hiss for some reason. But yeah, you know, like I said, a couple of things. Like the brother said, you know, a lot of times, like it seems like going to try to, you know, I get to a certain point, things start getting staticky or breaking up. Maybe I'm not really supposed to share some of that stuff. You know, I'm not really into all this talking. All right, just to be clear on that, I think some of you may know that who've been listening for a while. I'm not really into all this talking, so I'm into sharing a little bit, and then y'all doing a lot of it. So sometimes it's just too much talk, you know. And you know, I do appreciate the call-ins when they come. Don't get me wrong, but you know, I don't. You know, either way, the messages are going to come forth, but we need to be more about action and less about being entertained anyway by what's being said. And truth be told, let me see, 2010, 2011, I think we started doing these segments. I've already given more than enough information for you to do something with yourself. I've already given more than enough information for you to get yourself together at this point. So all of this is gravy. You know, I know everyone appreciated the Equinox show and everything, and I do appreciate it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to sound ungrateful or anything. Like, you know, I'm not grateful for the opportunity to build and talk with you all and get to meet you, you know, even if it's virtually and stuff like that. I am appreciative of it, but at the same time, I'm more of a man of action. You know, in my own personal life, I'm, you know, my house stays quiet. I don't really talk much. You know, so I do a lot though, always, you know, doing something, but I don't really speak too much. So, you know, this is the most that I talk, except for when I'm doing sessions and things like that. But it's really about the doing right now, because if you recognize, again, we're in survival mode, or we should be in survival mode because we're in survival times, then, you know, you're not going to really talk as much. You're going to do a lot more. You're not going to use conscious information for entertainment when you're in that space of survival. You know, you're going to really take every little thing you learn. Like, you might watch a special on how to make fire by rubbing sticks together. You won't really watch it. How to purify water with oregano oil. You're going to really go try it because you recognize that, hey, man, I may have to do this. I may have to learn how to defend my water source at some point. I may have to figure out how to fence in and cage in a garden at some point and grow foods that are nutrient dense that will feed me. That, you know, so I may not have the luxury of eating cupcakes and cinnamon buns, you know, every day and stuff like that. I may have to actually learn how to do some different kind of things if I recognize that we are in the zombie apocalypse already, and then that will also determine what the futility is in some of the efforts that I currently do, or some of the things that about me that I'm trying to change or I'm holding on to. What is the value that they really represent? You know, it's like having excess weight. You know, sometimes you get to a point where it's like, especially as you get older, it's like, what am I carrying all this around for? I don't really need all this weight. You know, and it's the same thing with people. It's the same thing with activities. When you recognize the zone and the mode that you're in, you know, and sometimes we lose sight of that. We lose sight of where we're actually at in the context of things. And like I said, we try to beat down certain aspects of ourselves down, not realizing we need them. So like a lot of you brothers who I speak to who share that, man, I'm surrounded by soft guys or dudes who don't really want to be men, and I'm trying to work with them, and how do I save them? You know, you heard on Sunday's show where there was a question that came in. I think Sister Michelle asked the question, how do you convert a man who's a coward into someone who can stand up? If that person is actually a coward, because I don't know if that person is a coward. I'm not answering her question, but I'm just saying if I'm just going to take it for face value and the guy is really a coward, because I can't say that if a woman calls a guy a coward, I'm not really paying attention to that, because a woman doesn't know what a man is supposed to be. You don't know when a man is being cowardly or not, you know, so you could describe the behavior. It might not be cowardice, maybe something else. You know, but let's just say if she's on point, she has that the guy is a coward. Well, let's now take it to the zombie apocalypse. What would you do with a coward? You leave him in the woods somewhere. Send him off on a mission while you pack up camp and leave him. Because why? They represent a liability. A liar is a liability to a village. A coward is a liability to a village. I used to always tell my family that was like one of the phrases they would repeat all the time. You know, a coward and a liar is a danger to a village. You can't be that, man. You're going to get us killed. You know, so it's the same thing. A lot of you brothers and sisters have called and spoken to me about that on the side, you know, but it comes up so often. You have concerns or gripes about the individuals who are around you and them not really stepping up to the plate. Well, the problem is not really the individual, because again, if you think about survival mode, you don't have time to reverse 20 or 30 or 40 years of bad rearing and socialization that another person has. You got to sometimes harden your heart a little bit. You got to get a little cold and say, you know what? You're not going to make it. And you're going to end up killing me and everyone else. You're going to have to stay here. And now we're in a time where, bring Peter in, but now we're in a time where there is a profundity of information that's out now. You have very little excuse at this point not to know certain things or not even to do certain things. If people are not doing them, it's because they don't want to do them for the most part.
90 seconds.
90 seconds. I know y'all heard that. Pedro, I wanted to ask you a question. You still there, brother? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there he is. Okay. What is it that made you say that there's a value in me having, because, you know, we spoke and I shared some of my own experiences, which I'm sure you, I guess, we're not aware of, but what for
60
you?
60 seconds.
60 seconds. We're getting ready to go in the archives, everybody. But what was the value for you as, you know, just as a person going through that? And, you know, like what struck or what clicked in your mind to say that that's valuable, talking to someone who's maybe lived a little bit? You know, what value did that bring to you?
Like just the value of being able to know that someone has, you know, been through what you've been through, if not more, and just the advice that you can use to avoid the critical situations that you can encounter.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
10.
I feel that's valuable because, you know, if you really apply it, you know, you can avoid the you know, the harm in whatever situation you may come into, you know, with going to jail and having to see somebody, you know, die in front of you. You know, I've never experienced any of those things. So to be able to hear somebody go through that and to be able to still have a complete, you know, platform and still be able to teach and show people, you know, how to do, you know, how to think, you know, it's just, to me, that's valuable because, you know, a lot of people don't really experience a hardcore life, you know, so, you know, I done been through some hardcore stuff, but it hasn't been nowhere near, you know, what you shared with me. And it's just valuable to hear someone, you know, as strong as you are, and to be able to still stand strong and to keep things going. And it just lets you know that anything is possible. You know, nothing can stop you really if you choose to really stand strong and, you know, keep your feet planted. That's just a lot to me.
Okay. Give thanks. Give thanks. Yeah, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, I wanted to get that sense from you because, you know, it's different on the other side. You know, and
yeah,
you know, like I shared those things. Obviously, you just told some of them, but you know, some of those things that I shared, yeah, I don't really necessarily share them with the public because, like I said, I don't want this to be a sensationalized experience where, you know, everybody wants to hear war stories of this because I got a lot of them, you know. And the thing is, the beauty is, and you'll find this as well, brother, you know, when you really, really invest in your own mind and in mastering your own mind, you might share some of the things that you went through years ago, and somebody will say the most beautiful things, and they say, "What? I can't even picture you doing that." You know, and that's such a good feeling. You know, like when little things come up and people find little things out, you know, with me, and they say that you did, you know, I love it because that means there's been a rebirthing. You know what I mean? It's a total regeneration of a life where it's like you don't even have that vibration on you anymore. It's completely gone. You know, like all of the cancer is gone out of your body. You know, it's one of those type of things, man. So yeah, I wanted to get that insight from you, you know, in terms of the value that held for you. Thank you for sharing that, brother. We appreciate that. Thank you a lot.
No problem.
Yeah, for sure.
No problem, man. It's a lot. It's a lot to hold on to because, I mean, like you say, you never would have really imagined, you know, just from how you conduct yourself now. It's just, like I say, I'm not going to share anything. If you want to find out, call and talk to them. And I promise you, it'll make you feel better. I hate, you know, that it had to, you know, be that way. But at the same time, you know, that's why it's good to build with real older men and older women who really can share, you know, some life events that you never would have imagined.
Give thanks. Yeah, man. Give thanks. I appreciate that, brother Pedro. Yeah, give thanks.
No problem.
For sure. All right, cool. So yeah, you know, good conversations with the brothers, you know, been having some good manhood counsels, all strong. But again, you know, I just want to leave you all with that today. You know, there's some things in your psyche that you may be trying to suppress and put down. And let me just say this. Let me kind of correct something Brother Pedro said. I shared what I shared with him because of some of the things he shared with me in terms of his challenges. All right. So I don't want anybody to think that if you get on the phone call with me, you're gonna get the history, because you're not. You know, that's a part of sometimes sacrificing things. You know, you have to. Sometimes you got to sacrifice some of your identity to save people. You know, that's when you become that messianic figure. And yeah, it feels great sometimes when people see you a certain way and give you a certain level of praise based on how they perceive you. But sometimes you have to allow them to see you differently in order to save them. You know, you have to say, well, listen, this is, you know, what I've gone through, or what I've seen, or how it's affected me, or, you know, maybe some of the challenges that I had in my life. Like one of the things he did just let slip is, yeah, I have had people killed in front of me. You know, like I think I'm shared with him. I had several people. I've seen a lot of dead people. You know, let me put it that way. And no, I was never in the military or anything like that. At least not the U.S. military. Let me put it that way. But yeah, I have had those type of very horrible experiences. I've had friends killed in front of me, and I literally caught the body as it was falling to the ground, caught their dead body. You know, so I think I had shared that with him, you know, which he just shared. And it was more that I shared. But, you know, Yeah, it has an effect. And there was a question. I'm gonna bring in another caller, but I'm gonna answer something. A brother asked me today, and he said, "Well, Chief, like knowing that you have this aggressiveness in you, and you know, like I told him, I said, listen, man, I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's basically what I am. I learned how to, you know, tame the wolf, you know, but that's why I can respect young wolves." You know, and I see the bloodthirst in them, and you know, I don't want you to turn into a rabbit. Don't worry, we got a spot for you. You know, and he said, "Well, how do you remain so cool when people are disrespecting you and stuff like that, this and that?" And I said, you know, I told him, I said, "Man, I'm old. That's how." So a lot of the fire has been, you know, life is beating a lot of that fire out of me, man. So you know, it makes you somber, it sobers you up, but it's a two-edged sword. So I'm not quick to anger, but I'm also not quick to elation either. I kind of stay in the middle, you know. All right, so that's what happens sometimes when you get to that age. I'm gonna bring in another caller. UK, I think it's brother Byron. Maybe I recognize the number. Am I
Peace,
right?
Chief, you, yeah.
Hey, peace,
Peace.
brother.
Peace.
How are you doing?
We're doing very well, thank you, Chief.
Good. That's good to hear.
Yeah. And how's things with you, Chief?
Things are strong, man. Yeah, things are strong. Waiting for the weather to change up a little bit, but yeah, man,
Okay.
things are very strong on this end.
Okay, well, that's good. Chief, I just really wanted to call in and just give some feedback and some comments. So first of all, I want to say thank you for your continued support of myself and my clan, because
Absolutely.
we've been working together for a while, and I'm seeing and experiencing the benefit of that work that we've done together. And I really wanted to say thank you. What I wanted to say to the listeners and to those in the chat room, it's not always easy. The individual has to put in work and has to go through a process of change and transformation and pain. But I would say that it is worth it. And for those who are in that process, I would encourage you to stick with it. Now, going on to manhood, Chief.
Mm-hmm.
For me, there's a few cornerstones of manhood.
Oh man, you're breaking up. You know, you're breaking up a little bit, brother. By the way.
Am I breaking up? Let me try and relocate.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a few cornerstones of manhood that I tried to observe, and a lot of these were given to me by my granddad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My granddad lived till he was 94, and so my granddad would always say, first of all, your word is your bond. So if you say you're going to do something to anybody, then you do it, because they're judging your manhood and your capacity to keep and honor your word. And secondly, he would say that if somebody disrespects you or troubles you, you don't always necessarily need to have to deal with that person overtly, but you need to know that person and avoid that person. Not necessarily catching up in argument, but definitely marking that person's character and deciding that you're not going to move with that person because their characteristics aren't akin to what you want in your life. And also, Chief, I'm a type of person, just moving forward a little bit, I'm a type of person, I love old movies. Mm-hmm. Old movies of maybe that show hand-to-hand combat, like 2,500 years ago. I love those movies. The people are killing each other with swords and spears and stuff. That's my type of movie. Yeah. If I'm watching that movie, my wife knows not to talk to me because I'm in that
You're in your zone.
So, yeah. And I was watching the film Troy the other evening.
Oh yeah, okay.
With Achilles, with
the
character Achilles.
Yeah.
And my wife was watching it with me, which was a rarity because she doesn't like all that blood and gore stuff. But she was watching me. She says, "Why are you so into this film?" I says, "Well, to me, Achilles is in this movie, Achilles is a manifestation of Ogun. And what I see is that without the direction that Achilles had in that movie, then he would be completely wild and a barbarian. But because he had direction in his aggression, because he had a plan, he had an agenda, he had a strategy, then because he was utilizing it for what he perceived to be good, then he was able to channel that male energy and that Ogun energy purposefully. And it even came into the show. Later on in the show, he recognized that the taking of life isn't the only aspect of life under the cosmos. There's also other energies which are equally powerful but manifest themselves in different ways. And he was able to understand that towards the end of the movie. So those are the type of movies I like, Chief. My wife says I must be a reincarnated warrior from back in the day.
Oh, we already know that.
Because I'm just into those movies, Chief. But for me, for a man shouldn't be ashamed of having an aggressive streak in him.
Right.
Because that is natural. It's natural for a man to have an aggressive streak in him, and it's natural for a man to want to protect his family or to protect himself in times of alarm or distress. So for me, I would encourage all brothers to nurture that element of yourselves and to also align it to something that's positive. So if there is an affront to yourself or your family, you can righteously deal with it and become the victor during in that situation. So there's nothing wrong with knowing how to look after yourself. There's nothing wrong with knowing how to protect your family, as long as you're doing it for a positive end. That's what I really wanted to share, Chief.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, man. That was more powerful than you might even imagine, based on the dialogue that I've had with a lot of brothers. I know what they just got from that. I know I'm going to get emails from that, man. They needed to hear that. Trust me, they needed to really hear that.
Okay.
Yeah. Give thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks,
thank you, Chief.
For sure.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, brother. All right.
Well, anyway, brothers, basically stay with the program, and we're going to move forward, and I'll speak to the brothers hopefully on Sunday.
That's right, on the call. Yeah.
And on the call. Yeah. Okay. Peace, Chief. Thank you.
All right. Peace. All right.
Odabo. Okay.
Yeah, the brother just he laid it out. That's what it is, man. A lot of you brothers are feeling ashamed, man, and and energy has been and sisters, let me not just give it, because some of you sisters you have it as well, but you don't know where to place it, because again, in this society, you're disillusioned to think that the power holders are the men. You don't understand that power is equally distributed depending on your expression of it. So there are things that women can present and do. Primarily, a woman's power is her sex. Let me just put it out there. A woman's power is your sexuality. Through your sexuality, again, look at the movie Troy. But through your sexuality, you could bring down the largest man. But you watch some of the false media, and they have women kicking behind and choking dudes out, knocking them out and stuff. No, that's not gonna happen. You ain't knocking me out. I don't care how big you are. You ain't knocking me out. But Ogun, brother gave that reference. His weakness is always women. Women do Ogun dirty. You see that in all the stories, man. They take advantage of him. They use him. And he falls for it because he has that protector streak. So yeah, he kind of laid it out, but like I said, we're missing a lot of the value of our primal instincts. And if you look at us being really in that zombie apocalypse as we are now, like I give you an example. Some of the things that we speak about and we lecture on, because one of the brothers had asked me about that, and he said, I want to bring a lecturer down to speak to the fam here and everything. And I said, that's cool, but this lecturing thing is kind of phasing out at this point, the talking, because we've said most of what needs to be said at this point. like I said before, the debate should be action debates. You know, you prove your point through action, and then show evidence of the action. Not we looking at some old dusty book and proving well, they did it this way, they did it that way. That's real. That's that's real feminine. Let me say that. So you know, a lot of you brothers don't understand, man, that the thing that you're beating out of you is the thing that we're all gonna need when those times come. You know, like for instance, let's look at an environment like when a person is incarcerated. You got some people who haven't been to the masjid in 15 years. They go to jail, and now on Fridays they there Juma. You know that they're making salat because of the camaraderie and the protection that they receive by aligning themselves with other brothers in the nation, or even Sunnis, but other brothers within Islam. The same thing could go for the 5%ers and so forth. We can go straight down. You got people who live in a certain neighborhood and they become Crip or they become Blood because that's just what their neighborhood is, you know. But it's about aligning yourself with who has the most structure sometimes. And sometimes we have some of those elements in us and we beat it down. So we end up becoming those Negroes or those people on the periphery who are raceless, cultureless, and spiritless. And those are the ones that get kidnapped, abducted, and picked off. You see? And a lot of you brothers who have that strength in you, you become most valuable. Let's take Anwar. I see him popping in the chat room right now. Anwar is always talking about different businesses he has or building things, or I did this, I did that, you know, but touching something. And you can tell by hearing his voice, he's not a small person. You can hear it. Now, if we're in a survival situation, who are you going to want to be next to? The guy who's over here preaching all the metaphysics and all of the abstractionism that hasn't really actually been proven or quantified, or the guy who knows how to build a shelter, or someone like Dietrich who knows how to handle animals, you know, or someone like Brother Byron who takes martial arts. You see, I mean, we could just go down the list. Sometimes, again, we beat down some of the great value in us, you know, and we end up making ourselves liabilities because we throw out the good things we have with us. And it's very similar to some of you sisters do the same thing. You know, can't cook a meal if the Wi-Fi is out. I had a recipe for it, when your Wi-Fi doesn't work, so I can't pull up the recipe. Well, in the zombie apocalypse, sister, you got to go. You know, your liability. You know, the ideation that we hold, the concepts that we hold so much of our divinity. I'm God. I'm the black God. And okay, but you know, in survival mode, what is that really worth? We can't use that for anything. Oh, I'm Queen Mother such and such. Yeah, Queen Mother. I hear you, man. Can you shoot this bow and arrow? Can you gut this raccoon I just killed so we can eat? I ain't touching that. All right, sis. Well, you know, either we're gonna have to hold you out, you know, or you just gonna have to leave. You see, and I know it sounds very hard. I know I probably lost 3 or 4 listeners already. Let me look at my numbers. Let's see if they drop. I got my eye on you. Somebody's gonna leave the room. I'm waiting. Somebody's gonna leave. But did he just say hold you out? What? You're gonna leave. But again, you have to look at it in a survival situation, and sometimes we're just not sensitive to that. And we're not sensitive. There we go. Lost one. And we're not sensitive. Let's see. I probably, a statement like that would usually lose me about 3 though. So lost 1, gained 2. What the heck? Huh? Y'all done lost some of your morality. Y'all starting to agree with me. Uh-oh. Now I know we in apocalypse. So yeah, you know, a lot of times, you know, what happens is, you know, we forget some of the base utility that we need to survive, and we beat it out of ourselves. And a lot of you brothers and sisters have come to me with certain things. You know, some of the sisters, you like the pinus too much. I can't get enough of the pinus and I feel bad about it. Well, your strength and your power, not your strength, I should say. Your power is in your sexuality. So that's something for you to learn. A lot of the brothers come to me and say, Chief, I still get angry and this and that and that. Well, you listen to too many of these nerdy lecturers that are telling you, oh, brother, you angry. Yeah, I'm angry. Of course I'm angry. What kind of man wouldn't be angry based on what's happening right now? I'm going to be angry until we establish what we're supposed to establish. As long as we're out here blowing in the wind and we have the potential to be picked off very easily, yeah, going to be angry. Especially if we see we're constantly being undermined, and that anger is going to create a movement. You see, the luxury of fragmentation that so many people are invested in right now. Again, like I gave examples. I think I said Anwar, Dietrich, Brother Byron, right? Brother Byron's in the UK. Anwar's in Florida. Dietrich is in Atlanta. They're too spread out because we have the luxury. And there's other brothers. I don't want to throw y'all out there. Brother Pedro's in South Carolina. I'll throw him in there. But having that luxury of being so divided because we got the internet. Now, what happens if the internet goes out and we can't communicate this way? What do? You see, you be 40, 50 years old having to get jumped into the Bloods just to get some food, just to make it to the market. You don't want that. That's a bad look. So this is what I'm saying, man. A lot of you brothers who have spoken to me about that, and you sisters, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad that you have still that wild streak in you, because we need that wild streak. And like Brother Pedro said, someone like me, he was surprised that I had gone through some of the things, and he only shared a little bit, but some of the things that I had gone through and are still going through. It ain't over. I'm not retired. Still going through. He was surprised that I could go through so many things and still, I guess, be the way I am, be sane. We'll say that, because I definitely have been through situations where I could easily be on medication or running around eating my own boogers and eating out of garbage cans, homeless. I've been in those type of situations that would drive you crazy. But this is how I look at it. I've always looked at it like this. And this may help you brothers or you sisters. All of our Egun were not enslaved. All of us living here in North America did not come here as a result of the Ma'afa. There were many of us who were already living here free. But some of us did, right? Now, if we can connect to the idea of what some of our Egun have gone through in order for us to be here today, some of what they faced. This is what has always been in my mind, right? I've always said that in any situation, this has always been my default. I'm saying from young, because I read Roots when I was really young, and that was the spark that got us here. Chief Yuya, here we are today. It was Roots and a couple other books that I read, but Roots was the one that it was like, okay, yeah. So the thing is, our ancestors didn't go through what they went through on those boats and on those plantations for us to now be on some sucker SHIT today. That's how I always looked at it. And I look at it that way today. Every single thing that I've gone through, that's how, when I've gotten into arguments, back when I was young and used to argue, but got into disagreement even with friends or with women, or back then girls I was dealing with, that was always the image that would come in my mind, in the bottom of a ship, chained up, sick, person next to you is dead, flies all over him, rats crawling all over, you can't do nothing about it. And you say, no, I'm gonna hold on, because the children that I create are going to avenge this nonsense. We're going to come up out of this. And you go through all of that, and you join together. And my family was actually a part of 2 separate insurrections on plantations. Okay. That's part of my personal family history. That, the last one they did, they actually murdered their slave maker, cut his body up, and put them under a shack. There's a whole long story to it that, was passed down in my family that I ain't gonna get into right now. But rebellion is in my blood. Let's just say that. Now, they didn't go through all of that and run up in the freaking hills and intermingle with the Cree Nation. That's why I had shared the other day my family is Cree. That's how that happened. Because when they escaped after killing him, they were wanted, and they ran up into the hills and got with the Cree down in Alabama, and that's how family became Cree. I got a lot of cousins who still live on the reservations. They didn't even leave. But anyway, man, they didn't go through all of that for me to now today be trying to disillusion my people or rob you guys or take advantage of you or just be on some sucker, sugar honey iced tea. They didn't go through it for all of that. So that's how I always, for those who've asked the question, like the brother said, how do you remain so calm? Like I said, I'm old, life has sobered me up. It's, I used to be, well, I still am, but in a different way, really militant and, really, really aggressive, but quietly aggressive, but as you go through and you get older, you realize, well, you got to learn strategy too. When I was young, I didn't really have a lot of strategy or a lot of tact because I was strong and I was forceful and I wasn't scared of anything. So I figured I could just fight my way through anything or push my way through anything. And that's pretty much what I did. I did for many, the first couple of decades of my consciousness, of years in my consciousness. I mean, listen, man, after I read the autobiography of Malcolm X and I was a young boy, I was walking around with a shotgun every day. I thought I was ready for it, and went to jail for that shotgun. Okay. Went to jail for that charge, man. So I learned, okay, can't do that. That, got to figure out other ways to do things, and I don't really need to walk around, with this sword. I ain't Scarface walking around with this sort of shotgun underneath my coat. I don't really need to do that. There's other ways to redeem and reclaim and to provide reparations for your bloodline than always being the Incredible Hulk. You got to learn some Shango strategy too. It's not always about that Ogun strength, because the strength isn't always going to get you where you want to be. And sometimes the strength gets you isolated. You so strong, you pushing so hard that you end up in a hole somewhere. You be in a jail cell, in jail, locked up twice. It got you in isolation inside of a jail, because you so strong. So you learn strategy after a while. And I'm giving this to all the young warriors, man. I'm sharing this information with you guys, man. I joke sometimes. I say, yeah, well, I went through that. Like Hove went through that, so you wouldn't have to. Well, Chief went through some things, so you wouldn't have to go through them, man. So the things that I'm saying, I may not always tell my history because I am a very, believe it or not, very private person. Very, very private person. But the things that I say are based off of a lot of study and research, a lot of practice and a lot of experiences. And I may not always share what, the process of what got me there, because I don't want you to focus on that so much or try to figure it out. Like, well, how did he get, and what was he doing to have multiple friends killed in front of him? What the heck? What is he? But it's all about the path, man. We all have a path to greatness, man. We all got a path we got to walk. Let me tell you something. I saw my first dead body when I was 6. I'll give you that story. She was an old woman, and I was riding my skateboard outside. At that time, my mother was a bookkeeper, and she used to work at Marcus Garvey Park now, but back then it was called Mount Morris Park in Harlem. And she did the bookkeeping in there for the community center. Well, back then in Harlem, you could be 6, 7 years old and play outside. Like Harlem was like a village back then. So, it was okay. Your children could wander around a little bit. You were safe. So I was outside riding my skateboard, and there's a church not far from anywhere you familiar with that area. And I don't know what possessed me to walk inside this church. I don't know, just being a bad little kid going where I wasn't supposed to go. and walked down there and saw this box at the bottom of the aisle, and walked down to the bottom of it, and there was a woman in there who I thought was sleeping. So I'm shaking her, lady, ma'am, I don't know, I said miss, probably said miss something, but I was like, wake up. I'm tapping her. She didn't wake up. She's cold. So I stared at her for a while, and she said some things to me, which I won't share with you. Some very sacred things she shared with me. And I walked back out the church and rolled and played back around outside. And from that moment, I pretty much always saw dead people. That was my initiation into the Egungun society. Okay. So having that pattern of being around dead people, or having people killed in front of me, or being the last person somebody sees before they die, that's happened a lot to me. That pattern started then. That was my initiation into, don't be afraid to be around us, or when death comes, or like my family, my nickname, they call me the angel of death, because they say every time you come around and somebody's sick or something, you always the last one to see them. You're the angel of death. So sometimes our lives, the things that we want to suppress and throw away, we don't realize that they are key pieces to our path. They are key pieces to where we need to get to go, man. So you don't want to suppress and end that stuff. I'm not afraid of dead bodies. Not like, I have a different kind of relationship with them. I'm not afraid of near-death situations or death situations, because I've had too many of them at this point. It's just been too many of them for me to say that, be scared of it. Well, that comes in handy in this work, because for years I also worked with different gangs in the New York, New Jersey area, and worked with a lot of gang disembowelment, with people, trying to get young men to basically drop their flag and get out of the gangs. Well, that's a mortal work when you really, really doing it. And I was inspired to do that by Jim Brown. Everybody, the ex-football player and actor, Jim Brown, one of my brothers I always looked up to and appreciated. Real strong Ogun energy. And he was doing the same thing out in LA. And I was like, well, Jim Brown doing, I need to do it. So I was doing it out here on the East Coast. And yeah, there was times I'd be in certain hoods and have to literally fight my way out. Literally. Certain hoods I have to go in, I'd have to have my ratchet on me. Now I'm over here talking about peace, and I got a grip on me. Grip and ratchet, I'm gun, for those of you who are not familiar with the lingo. So, but I'm not afraid to die. I've been seeing so much death. You ain't scare me with that. So I'm going to talk to you the way you need to be spoken to. And I speak to those young men way harsher than I speak to y'all. Hear me, and sometimes that would be a shocker enough. Like, yo, who this coming out here screaming on everybody? Who this? And, but I did a lot of effective work, and some of those actual young men and women are still in Anu to this day. Believe it or not, they're still in Anu. In fact, there was some pictures that I had up a while ago when I had a personal Facebook site. I took them down of some of the retreats I used to do with them and stuff, man. We used to do simulated slave escapes, and that was a whole program that I had designed. This program that I did called Mental Toughness, but yeah, we used to bring them out to the middle of the woods, and we would have drums playing on one end, way out, like maybe a mile or two out, and they had to find their way to the drums. No path, going through thickets, climbing hills. They come up, man, their clothes be ripped, mud all over them, crying, arguing. Sometimes they wouldn't even come out. It'd be nighttime. I'd hear them back in the middle of the woods arguing. You know what I mean? But beautiful experience. At some point, we're going to get that popping again. But I had some real strong men around me at the time when I had designed that program. And for something like that, you need strong men to hold you down. Because again, there was times I had to, I would have to hem up some of those guys. They 19, 20, 21 years old. They all they know is the block. All they know is, if you can't whip my ass, then shut up. All right, well, I'm gonna whip your ass then. I'm not gonna lose. I may lose on the block, but out here in the woods, You don't know. This is where I'm a superhero. I don't lose in the woods, you know. So there were situations that would happen like that, man. You know, we get real. And I look at some of these cats who out here lecturing and stuff. They couldn't survive 5 minutes out there with us, man. You out there with a bunch of young ex-cons. They wild, they cursing, they misspelled tattoos all over their face and arms, and they calling you nigga, and you know, and you got to cut through it, man. You know, the brothers I had rolling with me at that time, man, they would, you know, they came from my life. So, you know, they knew what to do. They knew how to handle it. They have a problem with, you know, bloodying somebody up or whatever. You know, a lot of guys, I tell you, man, don't be afraid of that aggression. You know, don't let it be whipped out of you. You know, it ain't no big deal, man. You know, sometimes you're going to have to hurt people. Sometimes you're going to have to do that, man. Sometimes you're going to have to hurt people to save them. Sometimes you're going to have to hurt people to protect yourself or to protect your family, man. Sometimes you're going to have to get hurt. Ain't no big deal. Sometimes you got to get hurt, you know, in order to save people or to protect them. Man, I used to go into certain neighborhoods, man, and come out and, you know, busted lips. And all, you know, I might win, doggone finger jam, lip busted, black eye. And, you know, at the time I was doing that work, I was also a principal of a school. So I'd come in, black eye the next day. So what? You know, black eyes don't hurt. The only thing that hurts most is the embarrassment. It's just, they're irritating. They're like, it's a little itchy around your eye, but it doesn't hurt. It just looks bad, you know. But that's where we're at, man. So you brothers and you sisters who have contacted me about that and felt some, they don't feel any shame about it, because we need that warrior energy. We got too much softness around us right now. And as a result, man, you got people, you got like this savage in the White House now. You know, he's cutting through us, man, and running through us. And all the lecturers are doing a whining about it and doing movie breakdowns. And we need you strong ones, you ones who have skills, who can build things, who are not afraid to kill things, the ones who can heal things, you know, the ones who are not afraid to die because you've seen death. That's what we're going to need, man. Trust me. You know, you had a Babalawo in a society, you had chiefs, but you also had a warrior society. Everybody's got to work together. We need all of y'all. Don't go anywhere. Don't leave. Don't leave. We need you here. Don't go anywhere. Trust me. And if no one else understands it, I understand it. You got one older brother here who, no, listen, I understand your aggression. I understand why you're angry. I understand it's hard to get out of you. Don't worry. We got a place for it. You see? And some of us have been through it too. We just don't talk about it. I don't talk about a lot of that stuff because it's not really enjoyable to talk about, to be honest with you. You know, the stories and the things that I've gone through are real. So I don't enjoy them. You know, a lot of times when you hear people bragging about them or talking about them in songs all day, you could tell they never really been through them. If you've really seen death, you ain't going to rap about killing somebody. You know, that's not, I've seen like half an episode of Oz. I don't watch prison movies. You put the 2 and 2 together. Why? I don't watch this stuff. When I was young, I remember my friend's father, he was in Vietnam. And anytime he come in, we might have some kind of war movie, because I always like shoot 'em ups. That's my favorites. I like shoot 'em up film. I like westerns, cowboy films. But man, turn that mess up, man. Turn that junk up, man. Y'all go outside and play. But it's because he couldn't take the loud noises and the gunshots. It used to freak him out. You know, his mother told us that later. Nah, y'all can't watch that in here. His name was Jimmy. He used to smoke these cigars, man. He had no front teeth. I never get that. And he used to hold the cigars in the middle of his mouth where his teeth was supposed to be. And he'd come in, and, you know, with his lip, man, turn that up, man. Turn it up, man. Y'all go outside, ride your bikes. You know, but because he went through Vietnam, man, you know, and that stuff messed with him, you know. So, yeah, some of us been through it, man. But that's what hardens you and sharpens you for leadership. It sobers you up for leadership. So you sacrifice the elation that you would have had. No, I don't get super excited anymore. I lost that. That's been beaten out of me by life. But I also don't get super angry anymore either. That's been beaten out of me by life too. I stay in the middle. I sacrifice both sides of those, you know, in order so that I can speak to you in a balanced manner and in a professional manner and in an effective manner. I sacrificed those aspects of my personality. What would have been? I don't get that. Okay. So yeah, just want to give you all that encouragement. You brothers and sisters who have reached out to me about that and have felt the shame of some of those emotions that rise up, channel them. And we'll speak about that further, man. But, learn to channel them, get back into the earth. I'm telling you, it calms you down a lot, man. Some of you brothers who got anger issues, and I'm not trying to be funny. You're going to think I'm being funny. I'm not. Learn how to garden. Just trust me on this one, man. I'm not being funny. Garden. Take your shoes off, man. You ain't got to wear no sun hat, nothing like that, no apron. But, take your shoes off, man, and get into that soil, man. Start working with those plants and start working with things that are very tender and things that really need your softness and your tender touch. See, I was fortunate in that I had a daughter, you see, so that was my garden. And she wasn't having it. She softened me because, when you have daughters, especially if you're kind of a rough man, your daughter to this day, I had a debate recently with my youth, and she's trying to, she likes to debate, telling me about how giving me the timetable of when she should be famous and rich. And I'm saying, baby, it's not really about all of that. There's other things. You bring other things to the table. Yeah, I hear you, Baba, but I already have those things. You've taught me those things. So now, I'm looking at Beyonce, and Beyonce started when she was 6 or 8 years old. I want to share my music with the world. Why can't I be rich? Going back and forth. And if it was a male youth, I'd be like, boy, shut up and go, But the girls, you got to sit there. Okay, sweetheart, and you got to hear things you don't want to hear. So they make you be tender, and they make you learn and respect process. Like, okay, I can't say this to her this time. I want to just tell her to stop, but I can't. I knew she was going to be beautiful when I made her. Her mother's beautiful and this and that. I knew this was going to happen. Darn it. Now she want to be a superstar. Okay. And you having all these inner conversations because you're dealing with something that's very tender, something that you don't want to break. So a lot of times having house plants helps you in that sense, even more than even having pets. Because I've had pets before, but I'm not, I like them when they're young, when they start doing stuff and ripping stuff, man, and I get sadistic. So I don't do the pet thing really too much anymore. But when you have children, or like I said, you grow plants and you have to nurture them. You can't trample on them, can't wear your shoes out there. And I'm telling you, it really helps you to channel a lot of that aggression and learn to convert the aggression into assertion. There's a time for each of them. There's a time to be aggressive and there's a time to be assertive. You got to learn how to work each line on that. Trust me on that one. Please trust me on that one. And that's what I've learned. I'm very assertive. Now, there was a time, I just, listen, man, this is the way it's supposed to be. That's it. But because I have such strong relationships with so many elders, you can't be like that with elders. So you learn, again, to slow up, be more sensitive, listen, sit there and have a talk about Jehovah. And still assert your point, because that particular elder, she used to always say, well, you could pray to Jehovah and you could pray to whoever it is that you pray to. So she respected that. Nana, I'm not doing that. But she would always say that to me. You could pray to Jehovah too. You could pray to both of them. So you learn that tenderness, man. And you got to have that. Trust me, you got to have that. I was just, I think, fortunate that I was born a musician. But as a guitar player, play guitar, I popped a lot of strings, man. I had to get my touch. Shoot, why am I over here talking like I still pop a lot of strings. So let me keep it real. I still got an issue with that. I get excited when I play sometimes, man. I was in a concert once. I'm not even going to share this story. I'm not going to share this. This one's, I'll say, man, I don't think I'm ever going to tell that one. Let's say I was in a concert once and I was getting down so bad that a part flew off of my doggone bass and hit somebody. But I'm not gonna tell the full story. And it was a female at that. I ain't gonna tell the full story though. That one's like, I'll make myself look goofy. But yeah, it's a work in progress, man. Every day I touch an instrument to try to keep my touch nice and light. Or I try to, do something in a yard or something, but just try to maintain that sensitivity. You want to kind of keep yourself in that space, brothers and sisters, to channel it. But trust me, you don't want to get rid of it. Just channel it. The more you channel it, the more it's going to rise up. Don't get rid of it. We need it. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be a punk, man. I got people I got to protect. And nah, you come up in my yard, I slit your throat. Straight up, I'll slit your throat, man. I ain't worried about it. And I'll chop you up and hide you in all different spots, all in upstate New York. That's me. I won't even think twice about it. You come and try to hurt someone I care about. I'm not, we need some of that pit bullness. And a lot of you wild women, man, we need you to be wild. My mother, and I'm going to close this show down soon. I know I'm way over, but my maternal figure was the wild woman. It was, believe it or not, as tough and as gruff as my pops was, he was really trying to turn me into like a artsy intellectual because I had that side and he didn't have that so much. So he thought I was going to, like when I came out, he thought I was going to be a surgeon, actually, he always says, because I had like all this crazy dexterity, I had like really fine motor skills. Like the second I came out the womb, I can't describe it. I could show you if I had a picture, but what I was doing with my fingers. And he was like, whoa, look at this. And he was like, either he's going to be a surgeon or a piano player. He knew it was going to be one of the two. So that's where he was leaning. My mother, stiffened vibe. My grandfather on her side was strong Ogun, killer and everything. Killed a bunch of people, killed the white sheriff back in the day. Like he did not play, and she said, I'm just like him. And all the other family says, you look like him, and eyes get red just like his when you get upset. You same when he was a little boy, So she was always about, no, you going to play football. You big. You got this big old arms, big old chest, big legs. You going to go play football before you outside beating people up. And then plus when I learned how to cut people, it started getting stupid when I was a kid. I got started addicted to making other kids bleed and stuff, So, I had a mother who recognized that Ogun nature and was like, no, we ain't going to get rid of it, but we're going to give him a place where he can express that, get this boy in some boxing and stuff like that, So, and now look, we're able to use it to this day. Now, if she would have suppressed that or made me feel ashamed about some of that, or if I was ashamed about some of the artsy aspects of what I was, you wouldn't have had Chief Yuya today. And I meant to mention that a while ago in a show, because a brother had asked me how I got to where I was today, and I had shared some of my history, and I didn't share that part, and I felt bad about it. And I've been meaning for a while now to share and speak about the parental contribution that got me to where I'm at. And I still haven't yet. And part of that is because I am very private. I don't like to really share too much of my family life, anything like that, because most of y'all I don't trust. I got a lot of enemies who listen to these segments who just waiting for something stupid to say, to see if you could try to piss me off, and then see if I'll say something rude back to you so you can go highlight that. I know the little games y'all like to play. You'll say something rude in the comments to see what I'll say back. So, I'm not really from a space where that's acceptable, because I didn't grow up in a passive environment. I grew up in a space where that to get your ass kicked. Excuse my Swahili. So I keep certain things private and sacred. That's why y'all have not seen images of my children. You don't know their names, stuff like that's it's none of your business. Because if somebody say something stupid about me, don't forget I'm a techie. I'll track down your IP address. I'll find you. So I'm not one of these internet people. So because I'm still old school like that, I got to put old school protocols in place to keep me from doing something that I won't regret. All right. But yeah, coming up with that, having parental figures who recognize certain things and say, yeah, it's all about exposure with our youth. You got to expose children to things, man. That's how you bring greatness out in your children. You see they have a slight interest in something, saturate them with it. That's how you do it, but you don't suppress it. So yeah, I might get into that again another time, but I just wanted to give some of you that encouragement, because I've felt the pain and the angst in your voice surrounding those things, just feeling like you won't fit in with this conscious collective. Or even in our new, I've had people say, no, I don't want to participate because I feel like I still have this issue or still have that issue. And then, man, listen, you're gonna have certain issues to the day you die. That's how complex this system is that we were grown in. There's certain things that you're gonna be scrubbing on your deathbed out of the walls of your own psyche. Okay, so we're here to support each other and to encourage each other, but also to relax and discourage the things that are destroying us and ruining us. Like Brother Anwar said recently, when we after that show, he was heated. When I was like, hold on, Anwar, wait a minute, what are you doing here? Now I knew he might have been upset, but like he said, I had to come to it. I thought about it, because I didn't say anything to him rude. I didn't disrespect him. But I'm seeing that spirit. I'm like, get the F out of here with that. No, we ain't doing that. No. You better than that, brother. You ain't got to be kowtowing and feeling ashamed to be a man, and now you feel like, I haven't been sensitive to the female. Nah, F that. You doing the right thing. One of the most giving brothers in Anu, even before he became a student. Dietrich's the same way. So you got to recognize the good and highlight it and support it. And but then when you see that other stuff flaring up, don't be afraid to pull out your machete and cut it. And it may hurt the person. Don't be afraid to hurt people. Don't be afraid to do it. Sometimes you got to hurt people to help them. Sometimes you got to tell your friend to come over and pop the pimple. And it's gonna hurt, or rip the bandage off. All right, that's been our segment. I know I went way over, but I have to be honest that the dialogue I had and have been having with brothers and sisters really has been heavy on my heart, just in terms of them feeling like, I don't know how to become this totally new holy person. And I feel like maybe I can't, and I don't know what to do. That's been heavy on my heart, because I know that some of that image that many of you have of what that holy person is has been given to you by suckers who's never lived up to that anyway. They just preaching it in their lectures because it sounds good, and at the end of the day, it's not what's going to get things back on track. Like I've told you so many times, the lecture circuit, the conscious community is revenging the nerds. Okay. Well, look at the energy that you have in the White House right now. It's not revenge of the nerds. They fixed that. Look who's there. They put the rich, vulgar cave maybe jock back on the throne. That's what they did. It was a movie back in the days that probably most of you haven't seen, because a lot of you guys are younger. Caddyshack. Check out Caddyshack. Caddyshack. There was a part 1 and 2, but the first one had Bill Murray, Rodney Dangerfield in it, a couple other people, and then the second one had Dan Aykroyd. I know these are probably names you guys don't know, but these are old comedians. But if you watch Caddyshack, and I shared this with someone recently, they did a YouTube video on it. Didn't give me no credit, but it's all good. But I shared that with someone recently. I said, the president of the United States right now, this whole thing, this is Caddyshack. This is when, Rodney Dangerfield's the vulgar guy. It's like when somebody from the hood hits the lotto, basically. Someone who doesn't really have, maybe the etiquette or the decorum of a rich person, but now they're amongst all the rich people and they just crashing through the gate, like, coming through with loud music and chains and cars leaking oil all over the place. It's like, the Beverly Hillbillies. That's basically what Donald Trump is. He's a hillbilly with money. So, things are changing around, man. You guys gotta look at the writing on the wall, man. And for those of you having that warrior energy in you that's rearing up, you form camps and collectives. Because when this thing really hits the fan and crashes, it's going to be the collective camps that are going to survive. Right now, those are the gangs. Those are the cartels. Those are the ones that's going to survive. That's why even if you guys look at any of the prepper information, they tell you some of the worst places to do your doomsday prepping are basically around the Mexican border, because the cartels are so organized that they're going to come up through the borders and take everyone's food and resources. Think about that. There's more than one reason why this goofus is building a wall. There's some organization down there. They call it cartels and gangs, but other people call it families and teams and crews and units. So, crew up, man, team up. All of you are having those issues. Find brothers and sisters like yourselves. Find brothers and sisters like yourselves who have that aggression, those wolves run in packs, run together. You don't have to try to figure out how to make it work with these sissies, man. Leave them by the wayside. And you wild women don't have to figure out how to make it work with these prudish nuns. That's one collective, and you got another collective. So many different colors in the rainbow. All right, everyone. Until such time, this has been Chief Juya with another community. I'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. With another segment. All right. And the late night shows, we go a little bit raw. Usually the way I talk today is I would have talked on the late night, but brother Pedro called in and kind of kicked us into another space. Justin says, Chief, I wish I could experience those rite of passage experience you created with the youth. If you do, I'm so down to participate in some way. Well, yeah, that particular program, the one I was describing, was an alternative to incarceration. So, Justin, all you have to do is commit some kind of felony, and then I can go to the courts as an advocate and see if I can get you in the program. So, if you'd be willing to commit class 1 felony, then now I'm playing with you. I'm just messing with you. But yeah, it was an alternative to incarceration. I was trying to keep them young people out of jail, and then I had it. Or you could join a gang, Justin. I don't think you want to do that though, brother, because you're a painter. All right, so you focus on the art and the paint. But yeah, no, we have the right. I have it. I'm kicking it back up. The Rites of Passage program. What I've been working now is just finding facilitators. That's the only reason why I had slowed down with doing Rites of Passage, because I was running out of facilitators. For like every 10 people, I need at least, really for like every 5 to 6 people, I need a facilitator. And I also had a female Rites of Passage program I was doing as well. And you need certain kind of women for that as well. So the facilitators are just as important as the experience, because outside of the Rite of Passage experience, those youth will see those people. And if they're not representing and holding down those values that we're talking about during the experience, you dismantle the whole thing. So yeah, part of what I do, I'll tell you my little secret. It's also a fencing effort for me. And what I mean by fencing, I look at who's doing what, and I may have those side conversations. So I've actually talked to a couple people already about helping with the Rites of Passage. So what I knew and what the participation allows me to see, who might be open to do certain things like Rites of Passage, because I did that for years. That was the most important thing that I did.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
That's it. Blog Talk just shut down. So we're going to shut down right now. What I'm talking about is non-essential anyway. Rites of Passage is coming back. That's the bottom line. I'll see you all tomorrow night. Peace.